Our next session is an expert speaker session. The topic is experiential marketing, anticipating and creating consumer desire. So, our next speaker is a leader who has shaped some of the most impactful digital first strategies in the country. Please welcome Mr. Shubhadeep Banerjee, Chief Digital Marketing Officer, ITC Limited. Mr. Shubhadeep Banerjee joined ITC in 2007 as Head of Consumer Insights. He was instrumental into our forays into multiple food and beverage categories like snacks, juices, chocolates, noodles, and coffee. Understanding consumers and their needs has always excited him, and the quest has hence been to innovate systems and processes to keep ITC ahead of the curve and create winning solutions for the business. Welcome, sir. Can we please have a round of applause for Mr. Banerjee?
Good afternoon, everyone, and a big thank you to Bengal Chamber of Commerce for having me here. I think Calcutta is celebrating soccer today, and I took almost 1.5 hours to reach from the airport to here. But when you talk about soccer, and if you want to name, and I'm guessing because it's Calcutta, 90% of this room would be in love with that sport. If you look at the top 5 players or top few players that you can think of today, you will name probably Mbappe, Yamal, Haaland, and so on and so forth. But you might not name the legend for whom you have thousands of people who have come together today at the stadium. So I'm here also to talk about a legacy brand. And how this legacy brand tries to continue to win in the hearts of consumers. So while ITC, as we all know, is a large conglomerate and will not have time to talk about the entire business, I'll focus more on the foods part of the business, which is the largest part of the FMCG business that ITC has today. Our journey, for example, started long back in 2002. And we created from scratch a bunch of brands which have become now household names, right? Ashirvad, Sunfeast, Bingo, Ipi, and so on and so forth. And these were all homegrown Indian brands today. And they've reached roughly around, I think, 3/4 of all Indian urban households, and almost greater than half of all India urban plus rural households today. But of late, we've also started acquiring a bunch of brands. Sunrise, which is a household name in Calcutta, or Bengal to be precise, was one of the first in that series. And then later on, we moved on to buying out Yoga Bar, Prasuma, 24 Mantra being the last one. And they all complement the existing foods business that ITC has. One of the newer launches from ITC's portfolio has been Right Shift, and I'll talk a little bit about it in the presentation. But in this journey, way back from 2002 to now, that's a 2.5 decades of journey, ITC is now, as per Nielsen, the largest food and beverage company that is there in this country. And this gap between the second largest player has just widened in the last couple of quarters. It's just not, the largest food and beverage company. It's also perceived to be the company which is providing to consumers some of the most nutritious products that consumers have in their choice basket today. And that's by ATNI. The last survey done was in 2023. Thereafter, ATNI has not done their survey, so we're waiting for the next survey to happen. But not in any kind of chronological order. This is the bunch of 5 things that have brought us here, right? A growth mindset, innovation, which runs in the DNA, because we came into this business where we had brands which had established the categories. So Maggi, for example, was synonymous to the category of noodles. Britannia and Parle, the largest brands in biscuits, and so on. And so hence, you really needed a distinctiveness to create a mark in the minds of the consumers and win in the marketplace. Our distribution continues to be a big strength for us. And there are lots of synergies with which we work. The agribusiness division is the backbone behind ITC's foods business. And of course, consumer centricity. And to the rest of the presentation today, there will be a lot more on consumer centricity. Dark Fantasy, as you know, one of those pioneer brands which created a price point. At that point in time, everybody told us, how can you launch a brand in the biscuits category at 35 bucks? But it was all about, again, understanding the consumer and trying to figure out what is it that is desirable to them. And hence create a very, very distinctive proposition in this category. Lots of brands came in, tried to fight it out, tried to create a lot of Me Toos around it, but I touch wood, this brand continues to strengthen itself. Similarly, when we entered the noodles category, we created a very distinctive proposition, and specifically from the product markers. If Maggi was yellow, if it was square, we created something which was round, orange in color, and so on. But what was more important is to figure out what is it that the consumers love. It's a slurp. So if you are making noodles, and people generally made it in a kadai or in a patila which was round in shape, then you would put the noodle block as is without breaking it. And hence your noodle strands were longer and slurpier and so on. It's just not about trying to be distinctive for the sake of it, if it's also about being on trend. So Bingo launched the first Korean snacking segment in this country and is doing fairly well for the brand. It's a new growth driver that we have in the business. But let's talk about a little for the brand which is the largest brand trademark that ITC has in the FMCG segment, which is Ashirvad. So Ashirvad's, again, I think the backbone of Ashirvad comes from the strength of agribusiness division today. But what the brand did over time is try to create not only differentiated products. So the kind of product that you will get in Calcutta is very different from the Ashirvad product that you will get in, let's say, Bangalore or Chennai or in Delhi. And they are crafted uniquely given the consideration of what drives product choices for the consumers there. But just not stops at the product, It's also about how you communicate and how relevant you are communicating with the consumers. So in South, while the category of atta or wheat, it kind of transcends across the population. It's around 90% plus penetration. It's a rice-eating population, but the category is bought at least once by 90% of the households. But it's only 3 kgs in a month that people consume. Versus, let's say in North, it's roughly around 15 to 20 kgs per household per month. So the task here is to make people believe that you can actually make a lot of stuff, a lot of interesting things with atta. So I'll just show you one piece of communication for South, and then I'll juxtapose it against Calcutta, because we are here and I'll not play the others. Juxtapose it against Calcutta and how your storytelling is very different as far as East is concerned. Sound, please.
Ashirvad recipes తో tummy full, tiffin empty. అమ్మ ఆశీర్వాదం ప్రతిరోజు.
So that's for Tamil Nadu, they consume only 3 kgs per household per month. So how do you show them to the mother that she can actually make very interesting stuff for her son or daughter when he or she goes back to school? Versus Bengal, what we are all known for, we are very lazy, we really don't do stuff. Hum log bolenge ki, are, hoye jabe. So let's look at what atta does for the Bengali population.
মামা বেটা 2 মিনিট দূরে পটল আর তুই ট্রামে করে এলি।
হসপিটালে যাচ্ছি।
তোমাদের লাগেজ কোথায়? একটু বাদেই ফ্লাইট তো।
আরে মামি, অনেক টাইম আছে। কিরে পটল, ট্যাক্সি বলেছিস তো? মামু, এই দেখো, অনেক টাইম আছে তো।
এই পটল, ব্যাগটা বন্ধ কর না।
করবো, অনেক টাইম আছে দিদু।
এই এসো, তোমরা সবাই খেয়ে নাও।
হ্যাঁ, চলো চলো খেয়ে নি। কেন? অনেক টাইম আছে তো।
পটলটা না সবার থেকে আলাদা। আছে দিবাই একটা। না রে, তুই ওকে যে আটাটা খাওয়াস সেটা আলাদা। এটা খাও। আশীর্বাদ আটা? চাকিতে পেশা আইটিসির আশীর্বাদ আটা, যাতে আছে সঠিক মাত্রায় ফাইবার, যা আমাদের পরিবারকে বানায় চটপট।
তার আশীর্বাদে তো চটপটে হয়ে গেল পটল। তোমাদের আশীর্বাদে। চটপটে তো হতেই হবে।
So what I wanted to, what I wanted to tell you was about the fact that, the communication, not only the product, but also the communication that you do for different parts of the country is very uniquely crafted so that it resonates well with the core need and the core psychology and the core food codes of that particular geography. But this is all from the past. India is currently standing in the middle of multiple sets of tipping points. And I'll just call out a few for all of us. We all know that we are enjoying a big demographic dividend. We have the youngest working population in this country. While we keep blaming Gen Z for a lot of stuff, but they are the core decision makers. At least at ITC, roughly around 30% of the workforce that we already have are Gen Z. We expect by 2030 to 2032, it will be roughly around 50%. So understanding Gen Z and how do we need to redefine our business becomes core. While that is happening, we also are aware of that India Alpha, which is the top end of India, is a huge population today. And as per capita income increases, and it's just not a linear curve, so per capita income is increasing as we are all aware, but it's not a linear curve from a consumption standpoint. There are inflection points in that per capita income increase that's translating into a huge change in the behavior. And we'll talk a little more about that too. We are all aware that tier 2 and rural markets have been driving growth. It's almost double the growth in rural markets versus the top 6 metros that India has. And it's not for now, it has been happening for many years in succession. But then the biggest driver in tier 2 is also a combination of, again, per capita income, education levels, and huge exposures that they are having from digital. The other good thing that is happening in the country is in the non-agricultural workforce, women population is increasing significantly. And believe me, we have done lots of analysis. Let's say 2 households have the same income. But if in one household, the lady of the house is graduate or above, the choices made in those households are dramatically different from the choices made in the other household which has the same level of income. So this social capital is a new thing that we need to realize. But as women are coming into the workforce, and we just finished one study on homemakers today, and we realize, while they have been given the authority to take lots of decisions, they feel overburdened today. The same homemaker, unfortunately, has also to make the breakfast, then go to office, or even prepare for lunch, then go to office, come back, and also help for dinner. And that's the unfortunate part. Today is not the discussion around homemakers, but what is happening is convenience as a segment or as a vector is increasing very, very rapidly. The other thing that is happening is the south of the country is slowly losing the demographic dividend. It is north and east which is now enjoying the demographic dividend. So south is aging faster in this country than north and east. In fact, in Kerala today, 27% of the population are 50 plus. As they age, their choices are changing as well. So how, as a large organization, you need to understand these shifts and hence address through your product portfolio, through your communication, are things that becomes very, very important for us to understand. If we don't, then we could be one of those brands that you see on the screen today. And that's what we need to avoid, and that's how we are working towards. And now I'll talk you through how we are trying to stay relevant and win in the marketplace. And I'll focus more from a marketing standpoint today in the conversation, but this transformation is actually happening across all functions today. So when it comes to marketing, it is this transformation at ITC is happening through the chain. So to start with is to understand consumers, which is the inciting part, which is the heart of everything that we do. So how inciting is shifting to content creation. And is it only advertisement that matters to the consumers? Or is it something more that we need to do? Every touch point that we get today, how can you have a meaningful conversation with the consumer? So the entire thing of connect. We are all aware of the way commerce has shifted. So I talked about distribution strength, but now with quick commerce, is that the strength that's going to last you for long? Or do you need to reimagine the business given the growth of quick commerce that's happening? Today there are around 4,000 dark stores with which they are operating. Quick commerce across only Blinkit, Swiggy and Zepto is clocking 10,000 crores of business per month. So I'm just trying to tell you the shift that's happening there and of course measurement. But let's start the conversation with inciting. This is the way we used to always do research or understand consumers, do surveys, do group discussions and so on and so forth. But then ITC had to create something called Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense is all about trying to now understand various other signals of data. Whether it is signals coming from e-commerce behavior, or it is all the videos and images that we all upload. We hardly write stuff other than on LinkedIn, but we only put up a lot of videos, a lot of images. But the important part is to decode that to understand what consumers are trying to tell us. And read through multiple blogs and so on and so forth. Even our search behavior. And our search behavior is also shifting, right? The way we used to search on Google is very different from the way we are searching on ChatGPT or Gemini today. So understanding those becomes critical. And what does it do for us? It tries to help us narrow down the gap between saying and doing. Consumers, this gap of what consumers say and do has always been huge. The idea is to try and figure out how we can narrow it down. And of course, there's a bunch of partners with whom we work in order to achieve that. But let's take a step back, and this dish is one of those dishes which I don't have to explain to this group, but in other forums I do. Let's say, for example, Sunrise needed to understand that what is my next product that I need to create. So how would I have gone about in Calcutta? I would have tried to understand what all dishes are they making, how difficult is it to make it, because of this difficulty, are they now becoming infrequent in making it, yet it's very desirable? And then I'll come back with a bunch of dishes that will come up, whether it's kosha mangsho, chingri machir malai curry, this shorshe ilish, or is it dhokla, or whatever it is. And then we would go try to understand how consumers make it. We'll go back, try to work with our product development team, come back with a product or 2-3 options, iterate with the consumers, go back again. That's a huge amount of time that is required. So by the time we start thinking that we need to make something, we took almost more than 2.5 years to launch something properly, or at best case scenario, at least 12 months. But today, our behavior is shifting so rapidly because if we follow this method, we are never going to land up being on the trend. So again, with the help of Sixth Sense team, we created something which is a proprietary algorithm to understand various trends, which are based on both velocity and volume. The velocity and volume are based on all those videos and images that I talked about, the searches that we are doing. So what is it that people are getting interested more on? And these, of course, these changes. So between 24 and 25, we will see a rapid change in the kind of signals that we are receiving. And we need to now focus on what is growing and what is mainstream. But there is nothing called ITC Foods. So we operate in different segments. So it's important to bucket them further into the relevant areas and see whether we can get inspired by a cheesecake and create our next biscuit or cake. Or is it that gochujang is the only flavor that we can borrow from Korea? Or is it something else? Or is hot and honey, which is a kind of a combination, a combination of hot and sweet. Is that the new flavor bucket that we need to operate in snacks? Or is avocado the ingredient that I should use in making my next beverage? And so on and so forth. But these ingredient trends that I just showed you, now it kind of converges into large themes. And then you identify what are those stable themes which are growing and try to focus there, because you just can't use your money and spread your investments across. You have to identify which are the ones that you want to really focus on. And then hence create these themes. For example, there is a sensory seeking theme. Now, do I look at sauces and dips because I was talking about homemakers and time crunch, and yet versatility is critical? So do I focus there? Or do I focus on protein? I'll take an example to explain this. So out of all these themes, let's say for example, ITC focuses on these three large buckets: protein, gut health, and pan-Asian. Okay. Now, gut has become a brain-gut axis today. Gut has actually expanded from just irritable bowel syndrome to actually, if your gut is good, you look good. If your gut is good, you sleep well. So it has gone to that extent. But let's focus on protein, which is the new buzzword in town. So what do? We try to understand how interest towards protein is growing significantly. Or is it volume, or how is the velocity? Is it kind of vacillating, or is it a steady growth? Not only that, you deep dive further, again from all these signals that we receive, to understand when, at which time of the day people are consuming what kind of protein, and where can we now think of creating a product or a solution for which kind of consumer. So if you see on your right side of your slide, or right side of the slide, on that quadrant, we try to now figure out from different life stages. So for example, Gen Z. Gen Z is looking at protein for growth, energy, stamina, and an optimal physique, whereas aging adults are looking at it from a muscle mass balance perspective. Again, Gen Z is looking for something which is nutritional dense as a product, whereas those who are 50 plus are actually looking for traditional formats and traditional ingredients. So the same protein solution depends on who you are trying to target. You would arrive at those product solutions. So I'll give you an example of that too. So Ashirvad launched its protein atta, which is the center of the plate, where it's saying that 3 rotis can deliver 25% of your daily protein needs. Whereas Yoga Bar, which is the new entrant in the ITC family, is now talking to only youth with its product range around protein. And Right Shift is actually talking to those who are 50 plus with its product range. So different product range with different ingredient propositions, with different communication propositions that you took forward. So this is where I will end from a product standpoint, but that's not enough. There is a huge transformation that's happening in the way we are doing our storytelling today. Consumers have really become smart, and smart from a very positive word, smart not from to be taken differently. She is actually looking out for a lot of information. She's actually reading a lot of back of packs. In fact, we are trying to bring a lot of back of pack information to the front of pack today. In fact, become front of reels today. She's getting hugely influenced by what is there on social media. At many a times, what we see on social media are actually not backed with a lot of science. But forget about that scientific or accuracy bit, but she is getting influenced. She's going beyond price to seek value. And all these are very important aspects, transparency, authenticity, purpose, and proof of delivery, proof of performance is becoming very critical. Health, of course, is a strong vector of choice. So while consumers are becoming extremely smart, on the other side, what is happening is hyper-fragmentation. Hyper-fragmentation from a perspective of what media we consume, where do we buy our stuff, what content do we, even to the extent, where do we do our transaction, the UPI transactions that we do. That's on one side, and the other side is about consumer fragmentation. So it is important for us to understand this consumer fragmentation. Is slow living becoming important? Is that a mindset that is becoming big? Or is it maximization of life that is critical? And because it is India, there is no single India. So there are lots of paradoxes which coexist. And there is business on both sides of the paradox. For example, individualism and collectivism. Individualism, as we all know, is becoming really, really big, right? But so is community building. I'm guessing, how many of you in this room are on Reddit? Anybody on Reddit? Oh, that's great to see. But those who are not, I'm sure when you go back home and you engage with your younger ones in your family, you will see they're all on Reddit. Community really, really is making a very strong play. And I was talking homemakers. Given the burden that she is in, this homemaker's sisterhood as a community part is becoming very critical. So individualism and collectivism both coexists. Restlessness and conscious consumerism. And let's see a little bit about this. There is a consumer base today which is all about restlessness. Any new thing that comes out there, they want to buy it, consume it, engage with it, experience it. There's an acquisition mindset, and that's very large. With this per capita income increasing, this is a segment which is the growing segment in this country. But an equally large segment is about a consumer base which is becoming more mindful. They are becoming more conscious in the way they are consuming food. They are not into that hustle bustle, but they are onto slow living. And both sides of the spectrum has a huge business opportunity in this country right now. And when I talk about conscious consumer, they're just not one segment. There are again multiple types of segments. For example, the conventionalists, they're looking for, and a very big worry for us, unprocessed food. They're looking for fresh food. And that's a big trend in this country today. So we need to reimagine our portfolio as ITC if we have to address this consumer base. But because of all these consumer behavioral shifts and as well as psychographical changes that are happening, are getting influenced by all that we spoke, it is important that we create the strongest, or we focus on the strongest currency of relevance, which is storytelling. I'll give an example to explain this shift in storytelling. I'll show you an Ashirvad ad, and this was one TVC. We used to make what, 1, 2, 3 TVCs in a year. I'll talk about Ashirvad Multigrains TVC, which we had created. Great ad, but that's how we used to communicate few years back.
हुआ क्या? नहीं। हुआ क्या? यही पूछना पड़ेगा अगर खाने में फाइबर कम होगा। आशीर्वाद आटा विद मल्टीग्रेन्स फुल ऑफ फाइबर, ये फैमिली के डाइजेशन का रखे ख्याल। हो गया। आशीर्वाद आटा विद मल्टीग्रेन्स, हैप्पी टमी फॉर अ हैप्पी यू फ्रॉम ITC.
But that was the way we used to communicate in the past. But today when we are looking at communication about the same multigrain ad, but we are looking at it from the lens of the cohort. And I'll show you two examples to explain this.
मेरा होमवर्क
चेक
वाटर बॉटल
और फाइबर? फाइबर मत भूल जाना, वो रखे हमारे डाइजेशन का ख्याल। इसीलिए आशीर्वाद आटा विद मल्टीग्रेन्स, जिसकी 3 रोटी में है दिन का 35% फाइबर रिक्वायरमेंट। आशीर्वाद आटा विद मल्टीग्रेन्स, रोज खाओ।
Okay, so that was a very good ad. But let's look at the same multigrain brand now talking to another segment who is a fitness buff.
पापा जिम कैलोरी काउंट
चेक
प्रोटीन
चेक
और फाइबर? प्रोटीन और मसल तो ठीक है, पर फाइबर मत भूलना, वो रखे हमारे डाइजेशन का ख्याल। इसीलिए आशीर्वाद आटा विद मल्टीग्रेन्स, जिसकी 3 रोटी में है दिन का 35% फाइबर रिक्वायरमेंट। आशीर्वाद आटा।
So like this, for every piece of campaign that we do today, we end up with roughly around 500 pieces of content. Because of these segments, then you have a top funnel where you're generating awareness, then you're going to middle funnel where you're generating consideration, and then finally when you're trying to convert them to buy, or the bottom of the funnel. And of course, there are different kinds of content that you would create for YouTube versus Meta, and so on and so forth, right? And different languages. So around 500 piece of content versus 1, 2, or 3 TVCs in the past. So how do we manage to do that? And so ITC created something called a Studio Alchemy. And the Studio Alchemy is completely powered by GenAI, but there is a human in the loop as well. I'll show a couple of examples to show you that, and these are examples of where we have not used a human in the loop It was completely created through Gen AI. Human was there, of course, for prompting. This is for Right Shift. This is a podcast-like content.
I've heard people say rotis made with multigrain atta are better.
Yeah, but rotis with multigrain atta become hard. It's not a very appetizing experience. Try Right Shift Multigrain Plus Atta. It not only tastes great, but has the softness that you desire too.
So while these kind of content or only product films, to a little more thematic, little more engaging.
जिंदगी के हर छोटे बड़े पल का रास्ता कुछ हाथों से होकर गुजरता है। हाथ जो जिंदगी के हर मोड़ पर चुपके से खुशियां घोल देते हैं, जो एक साधारण दिन में भी त्योहार जैसा रंग भर देते हैं, जो बस खाना नहीं यादें बनाते हैं। तो चलिए एक गिलास उठाएं उन हाथों के नाम जो सिर्फ हाथ ही नहीं बल्कि हर दिन मिलता हुआ एक प्यारा सा उपहार है। ITC आशीर्वाद।
So whether it's the voice, whether it's the video, all of it is through Gen AI, and all these actually power that. I was talking about the smart consumer, and I was talking that what matters to her today are when brands are actually talking from their heart. So there has to be a purpose behind the communication, or there is a participation where we ask them to come and participate in our life, and so on. We launched a brand called Mom's Magic at a point in time. We were not the first brand to launch cookies or butter biscuits or cashew biscuits. We're not even the 5th brand to launch that. We were probably the nth brand. So if we would have come back and said, we have more butter, we have more cashew, etc., none of you would have bought it. But we started the journey when, and unfortunately, as soon as the brand got launched, COVID happened. We moved the brand name away. We had the mother on the pack with a red cape, and we just said, "Stay strong, Mom." There was no Mom's Magic on the pack. And we moved on to, so we had a small interaction with Truecaller, and we asked them, whose calls do we miss the most? Is it boyfriends, girlfriends, bosses? But what we realized is the mother's phone get missed the most. So Ma, Amma, Mom, all these tags, when you accumulated or when you calculated, you found that this is the person in somebody's life whose call you miss the most. So, and that's how Mom's Magic created its second and the third communication, till we were stuck with this. We were really, really awestruck with this statistics. And we thought that this is a cause that the brand should take up.
प्रॉपर्टी और बिजनेस के पेपर्स तो हो गए, अब बचे सिर्फ। अरे श्रेया बेटा, श्रेया, वो कैबिनेट से ब्लू रंग की फाइल लाना दो। अच्छा। है पापा। बेटा वो FD वाली फाइल्स भी लाना जरा।
थैंक यू बेटा।
लुक्स फाइन वर्मा सर। सब एसेट्स लिस्ट तो कर दिए हैं, अब पता नहीं बांटने के बारे में क्या सोचा है।
अरे वकील साहब, इसमें ज़्यादा दिमाग लगाने वाली क्या बात है? और जो निकला था वारिस से, सब उसी के नाम करना ठीक रहेगा?
एक मिनट।
शेखर और श्रेया,
कविता वो तो बेटी है ना, कुछ महीने बाद शादी करके अपने नए घर चली जाएगी, फिर तो अर्जुन ही रह जाएगा हमारे साथ। वो कहते हैं ना, बेटियां तो आखिरकार पराया धन होती हैं।
तुमने तो मेरे पापा की याद दिला दी। उन्होंने भी कुछ ऐसा ही कहा था। शेखर, तुमने नोटिस किया दिन में 2500 बार तुम मुझे बेटा बुलाते हो। बेटा ये ला दो, बेटा वो कर दो। लेकिन जब बराबर वसीयत की बात आई तो बेटा से बेटी बन गई। लाइफ के कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट डिसीजंस ना सिर्फ दिमाग से नहीं, दिल से भी लेने चाहिए, है ना? हमने पाया कि सिर्फ 7% बेटियों को वसीयत में बराबरी का हिस्सा मिलता है। इसे एक माँ ही बदल सकती है। सनफीस्ट मॉम्स मैजिक के विल ऑफ चेंज इनिशिएटिव के साथ विजिट willofchange.com और बराबरी की वसीयत बनाने का फैसला लीजिए।
वकील साहब, विल में चेंज है।
Be a mom of change.
I've seen this so many times, but even when I see it again, it gives me goosebumps. But this 7% number, to be precise, and it's so unfortunate that even among the upmarket Indians, those who stay in these large cities, this number at best moves up to 12% or 13%. So it's true even in the cities that we stay. So that's how that's this kind of storytelling I'm talking about, where there's a stuff beyond transaction. There's stuff beyond just saying, we have more butter, it's crunchy, and so on and so forth. And that's the shift in kind of storytelling that happens. Interest of time, I'll not show the other two. But I wanted to spend time here. Ad assets, the role of ad assets in trying to motivate consumers to buy brands and our ability to tell our stories to the consumers is actually decaying very rapidly. Because we are all trying to go behind paywalls and we are all trying to avoid advertisement. In fact, our fingers are right there trying to just press on that button called skip as soon as those 5 seconds are over. We're just not focused on communication. And more so among youth. So what we have figured out is that we need to now find out a new avenue to engage with consumers. An avenue which is having a very happy marriage between what the consumers want or are interested in and what my brand world is all about. It is this confluence, if you can think of something which is interesting for the consumers, which is in sync with your brand world, you'll be able to tell your brand story in a successful way. I'll show you an example here for bingo. When we are trying to understand what is it that where youth is trying to spend time on, we found that the ones on your left, comedy, music, sports, food, tech gadgets, and so on. But at the top of the list was comedy. And bingo's core has 3 strong muscles or pillars. One is comedy, one is sports, which is not cricket primarily, and music. So we had a confluence between what youth watches, what youth consumes, what youth gets more engaged with, and what bingo stands for. And hence we created something what we call as a value exchange platform. An exchange of what you want we give, and what in process what we do is we try and understand you better because you spend time with me on my platform. My ad is at best 5 seconds to 30 seconds long. But on an average, people are spending on this platform, letsboing.com, roughly around 2.5 minutes. Today, this has become one of the many comedy destinations, and we are trying to strengthen it. It's 42 lakh people who have visited in the last 4 months. And around 43% of them have repeated their visit and spending around 2.5 minutes. So this is the new way of trying to build brand equity or strengthening our brands rather than just creating content as ad assets. And this translates into a flywheel, and I will not spend time there. And I was talking about connect. So every touch point that we get, whether it's an app that you create or an activation that you do, like the Rath Yatra example here, people find it so difficult to go and pull the Rath themselves, so we created a VR set, nothing great. But the expressions and the faces of these, let's say this lady, and I'll not play the video, when she was walking on that, thinking virtually that she's actually pulling the Rath, she was actually praying as she was walking with that rope on her hand. And similarly, when we wanted to fulfill the fantasies of kids, we created a bus where the kids had to just draw something and put it on a console, and they would see, like in planetarium, the three sides of the bus was like a screen. They would see whatever they had drawn move around. And that's how their fantasies were coming true. So I'm just trying to say that, if you have to deliver your brand message, take every touch point that you have in your hand and try to create a very distinctive experience in order to deliver your brand message. Last point that I will touch upon, and I'll shut because I've already crossed my time, which is this digital part of the journey. The bus has already left. What is now happening is intelligence transformation, which is the role of the world of AI. And of course, lots of rapid decision making. This is the bottom of the pyramid that I'm showing here, which is like 50 data sets put together. And just like you use your chat GPT, we actually just type our questions and we get our responses. And this is an in fact, things that we could not even dream of, or it was very difficult for us to stitch together those many data points to get a response. AI and the Gen AI together is trying to give us that solution today. In quick commerce, when you search for a product, I need to win that journey. And these are happening in milliseconds. And just to give you an example, if ITC had only 100 SKUs, and we had in India only 5 commerce marketplaces, and they were operating in only 100 cities, and assume that all of us were searching the categories ITC operates with just 30 words, which is not true. There are thousands of words. This is translating into 15 lakh combinations. Now, how do you win the 15 lakh combinations? You need to show your brand first when people are searching for atta. You need to show your brand first when somebody is saying, indulgent chocolate, can dark fantasy come up? Right? So how do you win on those milliseconds? So you need an AI solution to do that. Similarly, media, we said, has fragmented significantly. How do you get your best return on investment? And again, ITC is trying to move, and I know IA is here, and now Omnicom, but we are trying to move to a fully autonomous solution as far as digital is concerned when it comes to media decision making. So this is how the journey has moved from 2019 to 25, from 25, now we are talking about this intelligence transformation. And these are some of the big bets that we are trying to take going forward, which is, can I understand the consumer culture better? Can I be on trend? Can I build the fastest and most intelligent innovation engine so that we are the first to market? And can we get all our decision making happen through just clicks and a few questions that we ask, like we normally ask our questions? And can we predict where we can get our best ROI? I'll leave with just one thought. Now, these AI tools are available for all of us to use. So how do we stand out, given that everybody can use this autonomous solution today? So other than ITC, I'm also in love with one more brand called Apple. So I'll take 3 alphabets from them called I, O, and S. S stands for strategy, O stands for originality, and I stands for innovation. So if you don't have these 3 going for you, all these tools are going to just create a sea of sameness. Thank you very much. Sure, sir. Question.
Hello, I'm Kamal Dani. These are my own views regarding Mom's Magic brand. My first question, have you positioned your Mom's Magic brand to any other competitor's brand? Number 1 question. Number 2 question, and my observation. Mom's Magic, the dealers are trying to push in my locality. I'm talking about my locality. But earlier I used to buy. Now, I'm now 69, okay? So what I used to find that it's all made of arrowroot. You're saying you're using cashew, maybe other ingredients also. I'm not aware of that. There are 5, 10, 15. But I stopped buying Mom's Magic because it's only tastes fluorescent. I won't say it is tasteless, but it is not that, it lacks that killer instinct, you know. This is my version. You may 100% disagree with me.
No, no, it's a great feedback, sir. So always.
So I think, have you conducted a consumer survey? Those who are the end users, not buyers. You know very well, buyers may not be the end users. Please conduct an end user survey, whether they find it crispy, to add the word, I don't find it crispy. Okay. And maybe I am wrong. I'm not that expert in marketing, but Good Day was there. Good Day was a brand leader. You know, it was launched in 90 or 91, and I was consuming Good Day with coffee. But Mom's Magic does not appeal to me. Now again, I will here quote an example that once upon a time, Thin Arrowroot and Mary were very selling brands. Today it doesn't sell to the Gen Z.
Right,
Okay,
sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your feedback. I have understood that I have not won many hearts. There's some hearts yet to win. And definitely take the feedback forward, saying that you've not found the product good enough. But just to give you a confidence that we do a product survey very frequently to understand where we stand on our product delivery. But all feedbacks are really, really helpful. We'll look into this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. If you can just come to the center stage once, please. May I request Mr. Anup Hun to kindly come up on stage and hand over some very small tokens of appreciation to Mr. Banerjee. And we have some very interesting upcoming sessions, and the next session is something which is a surprise. So I think you will enjoy that. It's not a particular presentation or a session kinds, but it's something which is like a surprise. Thank you very much, sirs.
One more for you. Thank you.
So you need help to nothing, you know? So we'll just put it in a bag and get it ready. The next session is a session by INT, wherein Ms. Anona Deb, Senior Manager Business Growth, IndusNet Technologies Limited, will introduce something called INT Vyom, an innovative, goal-oriented voice agent. Anona drives business growth across digital engineering, AI-led analytics, digital marketing, and cyber security. Anona, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to be here today at 15th Marketing and Brand Conclave by Bengal Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So, events like this actually reminds us how the world is changing, with AI reshaping how brands communicate with the people. At INT, we have always believed that technology should feel human, intuitive, and be genuinely helpful. We have actually taken a bold direction in that step with INT Vyom. So it's not just a voice agent. It's basically something that doesn't just respond. it acts, it understands, and it delivers outcome. To explain what makes INTVM different and how it works, I would like to invite Akshita, who has been working very closely with INTVM product team. And she'll be explaining what really INTVM is. I hope this would be interesting. Is it connected? So we have actually arranged, while we are taking and we are working on the technology bits, we have arranged a surprise for you guys. While we present the INTVM differentiators, we'll be trying to get connected today and see how AI bot can answer your questions in real time.
Thank you, Ananya. So the vision or the problem that we are trying to solve over here is repetitive call overload. So when I say repetitive call overload, it means that we see companies dealing with these call overloads, which could be loan reminders, which could be verifying details, sales call, lead generations, even customer support. So because of which companies do get to hire agencies which cannot be present 24/7, especially they're not, like, agents tend to they tend to hire more and more agents during peak times, and even IVR, which just halts the customer but does not get the work done, which leads to missed callbacks and no-shows and less revenue, because of which the company has to scale, and which is inconsistency, more costly, and risking the compliance. This is exactly where INTVM comes in. So INTVM is a Gen AI voice operating system. It is humanized, so it talks like a human. It has the intelligence of your company, and it adapts to the tone of the person it's talking to. It is multilingual, so it can talk in any language you want it to, and it's goal-driven, which is it can verify details, it can schedule calls, it can follow up, and it can do anything you want, and it's highly customizable, so it integrates to your workflow. The best thing about it is that it is excellent when it comes to scaling. So the more you train it, the more intelligent it becomes, and it reports to your CRM with every call, and it starts making a pattern which can also recommend what time to call, what time to get the work done according to the statistics. Back to you.
Yeah. So it's good that we did not create any boring presentation. And no, we'll not be able to connect the slides, it seems. So don't worry, we have the live demo right now. So let me talk about Viom also. Instead of just talking about Viom, we want you to experience it and how it feels in real life scenario. So Viom is completely industry agnostic, by the way. So it can be customized for real estate, for education, for FMCG, any type of industry that you may want it to be customized for. And for an example, we have recently demonstrated INTVM to Tata Realty. So we all know Tata Housing, Tata Realty, they have multiple buildings and commercial properties. So we have just demonstrated it where INTVM acted like a real estate advisor. So we want to share a real-time scenario for this we want to create a simpler version of that today. So may I request one member from the audience to come on stage and interact with the AIVM in real time? Any member would like to be interested? Wendrila has come up. Please, Wendrila, if you can join us on the stage. We'll initiate the call right now. And Wendrila, just imagine you are looking for a property in Kolkata. Interact just the way that you would interact with a normal real estate advisor who would be calling you for a lead. And you can interact and you can let me know after that what is your feedback. Okay? Here we go.
Hi Wendrila, this is Biomai from INT.
Can they listen? Yeah. Can you hear us?
Hi Wendrila, hope you're doing well. I understand you're exploring residential properties in Kolkata again. Are you currently looking?
Yes, I'm currently looking for a flat.
That's wonderful to hear, Wendrila. I'd be happy to assist you in finding the perfect home. To help me suggest the best options, may I ask a few quick questions? One, are you looking for a 2 BHK or would you consider other configurations as well? Two, what's your budget range? Please mention in rupees or crores.
Okay, so I'm looking for a 4 BHK and preferably within between 2 to 3 crores.
Thank you for sharing that, Vandrila. A 4 BHK within a budget.
All right, can you just
Thank
help
you
me
so
with
much
that?
for sharing. Absolutely, Vandrila. I'd be delighted to help you with that. So just to recap, you're looking.
Yes, I'm looking for a 4 BHK.
Perfect. Vandrila, thank you for confirming that. Just a few more quick questions so I can suggest the most suitable options for you. One, do you prefer a ready-to-move-in property or are you open to under-construction projects as well? Two, when are you ideally planning to move in? Three, are there any specific amenities you're looking for? Like parking, clubhouse, gym, swimming pool, or proximity to metro, airport, or schools? Four, will you be financing the purchase through a home loan?
Okay,
or
I'm
is it
looking for
self-funded?
ready to move and maybe at the basement.
Got it, Vandrila. You are looking for a ready-to-move 4 BHK, ideally with basement access or perhaps a ground floor unit, and your budget is between Rs2 to Rs3 crores. That's a great range, and there are some excellent premium options available in Kolkata. Just to fine-tune the search a bit more, are you looking in any specific locality in Kolkata?
Okay, somewhere near Rajarhat.
Excellent choice, Vandrila. Rajarhat is a fast-developing area with great connectivity, modern infrastructure, and several premium residential projects. Based on your preferences, 4 BHK, ready to move.
So we'll wrap it up. Of course, Vandrila, I would like to hear your feedback. How did it feel to talk to INT Vyom?
Of course, it looks like I was speaking to a real human being and not AI, and she sounded exactly like any real estate agent, maybe better than that person, because she was coming up with all the solution. Most importantly, when I kind of told her something really stupid, that I'm looking for something in the basement, she addressed it very well. So I think this is the next big thing and much needed. So yeah, it's a great product, I think.
Thank you so much for trying that out, Vandrila. So thank you so much for participating, and thank you all for being such an encouraging audience. So for us at INT Vyom is not just a product. So it's our way of helping brands manage conversation better with speed, empathy, and of course, accuracy. As AI becomes a bigger part of marketing, tools like this will really help businesses stay connected and responsive. We would love to continue the discussion after the session, and thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anunda. That was really interesting. And Akshita, right? Thank you. So next we have a short presentation by Mr. Milon Mojumdar, Director AI and Data Science, Digital Sherpa. With over 2 decades of experience, Mr. Milon Mojumdar is a seasoned leader in artificial intelligence and data science, delivering impact-driven solutions across industries. At Digital Sherpa, he heads AI and ML initiatives, overseeing the ideation of intelligent systems, business development, customer engagement, and strategic execution. May we have Mr. Mojumdar on stage, please? And then we'll have one final presentation, which is very, very interesting, wherein we'll speak about analytics. Do stay back. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So this is the end of the session. I think we are pretty bored, and I think we have gathered a lot of information from other speakers. Right. So before starting, I must confess that, okay, so last few days, I was thinking about
talking a lot of thing about AI, right, in terms of generative AI, like so all other AI thing, right, which is evolving and which has already been evolved and we were using it. But since morning, right, so all of this thing has been covered, so I'm not going to this part. I am just starting to tell that who we are and what we do. Okay, so in terms of company, right, we are pretty young, but in terms of experience, right, we have more than 2 decades of experience. So our main product we have developed, so this is, we call it business process automation platform. This is our in-house platform, and moreover it, so we have some, right, agentic AI capabilities, right, within the platform, so make it, right, so very intuitive for the customer, and we can actually help the customer in different ways, right. So think about the earlier days, right, so when you are actually going to some kind of government office, and the first days you are going, right, so you're just getting the information and you're giving your information to them, and they are actually driving you to the next desk, and they are also, right, so you are submitting only one document, and after that he or she is guiding you to go to the next desk, and so on and so forth, right. And in order to actually complete the task, it may take months, right, so because, right, so document collection, right, so and data extraction and understanding all the formalities and everything, right. So today's world also we find the similar way, right, so in terms of business process automation, right. So in our way of, right, doing things, right, so we are automating everything in the first desk, right. So first customer comes, think about the onboarding a particular customer, right. So he or she may not actually go to your portal in order to log in. He or she, right, customer can go to, maybe he can actually connect through any media or any channel. So he or she can actually open the WhatsApp, or maybe he can send it to the email or anything, right. So the journey will start, right, and the journey will end in the same media, right. So through WhatsApp only, right, so we can actually onboard a customer doing the KYC verification, validation and everything, right. So and it will end. Okay, so I can share a story, right, before starting our product, right. So one of our direct selling customer, right, he actually asked me, right, so tell me one thing, actually, can you give, right, so the group of distributor, right, so under me, right, who are going to exit or who are going to quit in next month, right. So this is the pretty old use cases, right, so churn, we know it, but these days, right, so if you actually providing the probability of a customer, right, he is going to leave in next month with 83% of probability, right, so no one will be happy. Even if you just give the explanation why this customer is happy, right, so is going to leave, right, you cannot actually make the customer happy, right. So because in terms of marketing or in terms of convincing the customer, in B2C customer, right, so convincing is very different than B2B customer. And B2B customer, right, you don't have the luxury to, right, so maybe leave one of your customer, because you have only one CEO or CTO or only few decision maker in a company, right. So maybe you have only 30 decision maker in Kolkata, right, so whatever the company you can think of, right. And so whatever the, right, the thing I need to say that, okay, so if you think about the Google these days, right, so if you search anything in Google, so you cannot get the straightforward answer. So it will give you some mode-based answer. So it will give you, okay, so if you go to the AI mode, click on the AI mode, you will get some kind of, right, so answer. If you go to the all mode, if you go to the news mode, you will get different answer, right. So here also, right, our tool, we created this way that, okay, so which mode you want to go to in order to get the answer from, and then we have some kind of collaborative and comparative, right, decision making tool, so internally, and based on that we will find another probability, okay, so which tool, or maybe the 2-3 tool or 2-3 model which is giving the better result, right. So based on that we'll actually help the customer to give the decision to. So this way, right, so our tool, right, so it is not actually pure AI, we actually put
human in loop as throughout the whole day, right? So we are actually listening the human in loop AI, right? So we give the human in loop AI to our customer, means at the end we are giving the right so decision, because most of the decision it's a very right so valued decision, so that is the reason, right? So we put the decision in the hand of human so they can actually check, but we give all the option, right? So that why, right, you need to take the decision. So if you go to this way, you will get this decision, you will. So how many decisions, they are actually very common, right? So they can actually take it, right, the information from there. So that way we actually provide the information. So our tool, right, so it is, we call it iFlow. So in this particular iFlow, so it is not only that workflow automation, right, it has everything internally, right? So whatever the business needs, like, right, so in terms of their internal customer, like, so how we are actually handling the operation people, right? So when they are actually connecting with this tool, so how can they take the decision? You think about their end customer, right? So when their end customers are coming, right, how can they connect it? So everywhere we actually put this, right, so multi-channel and multilingual facilities within this particular tool, right? And we because this is connected to a process, so we have the process analyzing system, we have the document analyzing system. So whatever the document you're providing, so in terms of, right, so document like your PO, your invoices, so based on the scenario of your business, right? So we can extract the document, you can analyze the document, and based on that you can actually take the decision from, right? So at the end of the day, right, so you can actually get the notification, so you can trigger the approval, and because it's a business process automation tool, so people are actually connected within the process. So which one should come after that, right? So so is it the finance department, is it the operation and everything, right? So and how we can actually transfer this particular decision to the next department. So everything is there, right, in between. So it can give you the real, all right, so real-time insight, right, within the integration system altogether. Okay, so in terms of the key feature we have, right, in our system, so we have the conventional dynamic process orchestration, right, so where the workflow automation system, so we have the AI agent with human in loop system, we have the smart case management, document management system, we have the stakeholder collaboration. So in terms of cognitive intelligence, right, so we have the sentiment analysis, we have the document extraction and document intelligence, we have the multi-channel collaboration. So if you think about the customer experience, right, so I said at the beginning, right, so customer can be your operation, internal customer means your employees, or it can be your end user, right? So they can connect, right, so through this tool, or if they want to get any help, right, so they can come with the different language, right? So maybe in call or in WhatsApp chat or normal chat, SMS, or any media, maybe the Facebook chat, so any media you can think of, right? We have actually integrated all the media within this particular tool, right? So there is the automation interaction, so they can get with the empathy, because we did the agentic AI facilities internally. So they can get the personalized assistant, right? So all the thing, right, so business process flow requires, right, we have actually integrated within that. Okay, so how does it work? If you think about the business point of view, so we work in layered based architecture. So in foundation layer, we have created a lot of agents, right? So maybe since morning, right, so we are talking about the AI agents. So till now we have understood what the AI agents are, right? So AI agents, let's actually tell it very briefly, right? AI agents, right, so are created, right? So based on our generative AI or the LLM model tool, and it has been actually built to perform a specific job, right? So we have created a lot of AI agents internally, right? So hundreds of AI agents we have, right? So to take the request from the user and understand the request and the process the request, we have created some kind of multilingual translation, right? So when you talk about the translation, it is not actually translating the whole conversation into few words or few sentences, just like chat GPT or something, right? It's about your right, whole customer journey can be interpreted, right? So, and it has been actually created some kind of view for the business users, right? So in terms of understanding your whole ERP, right? So, and how the customer journey began from the beginning to end, right? So everything it has been interpreted. So you can think about some kind of sentiment analysis to understand the customer, okay, how customer is going, how the journey. So it is not about the when you talk about the sentiment, right? We think about it's a right text, or right, so or maybe the customer is speaking, right? So it is not that sentiment. Sentiment in terms of the customer journey sentiment, right? How customer starts the business with us, and why customer is actually, right, so moving and losing the interest, in terms of, right, analyzing the time he has spent, right, so analyzing the SLAs internally, right, all these things we actually think about it, and talk about the, right, so AI based meeting schedules. So all these small element we have created, hundreds and thousands of elements we have created in our foundation layer. In the support layer, right, so if you talk about the support layer, so we have a little bit elaborative, right? So here if you think about the customer support tool, right, so one of our friend, right, so just before my speech, right, so she talked about, so one of the, right, so customer support executive. So we have, right, so we have all this customer support intelligence, you have the information harvesting, right, so how can I extract the data from your invoice, right, or your maybe the PO or all other, right, financial document, right, so how, right, so maybe the line-wise information we can extract from the invoice or the, right, so PO and everything, and how can I analyze it, and how can I actually put it in readable way. And your media, right, so maybe the can be, right, so maybe the printed, right, so or maybe the handwritten, or you can think about the PDF or JPG or any kind of, right, image format. So our tool, or maybe you can see that, so our support layer, the whatever the agents they are actually working behind it, they can actually understand it and they can interpret the whole thing. So we have actually done some kind of CRM and quote management system. We have the agreement and the end result creation system. So all these things, we have the support layer systems. You can think about, so they're the collective agent, right? So they're actually doing this kind of thing. So the third layer, we have the industry specific layer. So we believe that we are not only the AI company, like, so thinking about the technology, and we are leveraging AI in order to create some kind of technology, right? So we understand the business, we talk to the business, we have the business, right? So the business, right, expertise, right, so in terms of different, right, domain. So here, right, so if you talk about the direct selling, right, so it's a company like Oriflame, like Vestige or something, right? So we have the, right, so membership. Recently we have got the membership with them. So why I'm saying is that, right, so we understand the business, right, so then based on that we customize our solution. It's not a solution like SaaS or something, so we have already created and give it to the client like SaaS based application, right? We create the solution based on the industry's requirement, right? That is the reason. So our second layer is the industry specific layer, right? So here we put our industry expert, so they talk to the, right, so maybe the decision makers of this particular industry, they understand their pain area, and then they customize the whole or orchestrate the whole solution according to their system, right? And top of that, so we actually target the company, right? So when you think about the company first, then we need to understand that industry. So one company may have, right, 2-3 industries, right? So we focus on the industry. Then we go to the support layer and we understand what are the pain areas you have, and in this particular pain, how to solve the particular pain, and so which section or which bunch of agent we need to actually take, and we have the foundation layer after that. Okay, so I'll not take much time, right? So I think so I'm end of this session. Okay, so what we do, what we provide, right? So we provide the solution, right? So to smooth or maybe to enhance their operational day-to-day work, right? So leveraging the latest AI technology, just like other company, right? So maybe the few of the company, right? They create the model. If you talk about the model, right? Maybe the OpenAI, Google, they created the Gemini. So maybe the Llama, right? So Meta created the Llama, right? So only few companies they created the so LLM model, right? So on the top of the. So all the company, right? So they create a wrapper over there. So, but the main, right? So focus the company should have, right? So that, okay, so how can you actually address the business problem, and how can you customize the solution, right, so for this particular business problem, so that we can actually solve it, right, and you can keep solving is, because solving the problem cannot be, right, so one time, it should be that continuous process, right, so, right, we work with the customer, we try to solve their problem, right, so we solve the problem to make it more personalized, right, so we go through the multi-channel, we go through the multi-language, and we address the actual issue to solve the problem. Okay, and I want to finish, right, so by telling that, okay, so AI, right, so because we have understood till now, right, AI cannot, right, so replace the human, so that is the reason our whole system is AI, right, human in loop AI system, right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And now for the final speaker of the day. The topic is data-driven marketing starts with data quality and governance. And to deliver this address, I would like to welcome Mr. Debashish Addi, founder, Addi Digital Analytics Private Limited. Mr. Addi is a distinguished technology leader with over 25 years of experience in software product development for some of the world's largest telecom OEMs. As the founder of Addi Digital, he combines deep industry knowledge with cutting-edge expertise in artificial intelligence and generative AI to drive digital transformation. Welcome and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shonali, and thank you, the Bengal Chamber. It's a privilege to be here, to speaking to you, and being the last speaker of the session. I'm sure I have to bring in something really special to wake you up. It's a long day, and we have been hearing very interesting speakers on AI, on marketing. And we are very fortunate to have big brands like ITC and Tata Steel here, as well as the other sponsors. It's working? Okay. All right. So. So today I'm going to talk about something which is very boring. In fact, data governance. So marketing is glamorous, as we all know, but let me ask you a question or a small trivia. I'm talking about the year 2015, and when I was working for the largest telecom operator in India. At that time, we had say about 98% of our consumers in as postpaid consumers. So if I ask you today, what would be the email IDs of those say 99% of the 98% of our total consumers, the postpaid prepaid customers? What would be their email IDs? Any guesses? Like, would they have? I'll give you 4 options. First option is, say, they will have their actual email IDs where the company can communicate to them. Option B, it would be blank. Option C, it would be abc@gmail.com, or the option D is sales@airtel.in. So out of these 4 options, how many of you think it would be the first option, which is the actual email ID? I think no one does. The second option is blank. How many of you think that the email IDs of the prepaid subscribers were blank? None of you think? Few of you think, or maybe I would say 10% of you think that they were blank. And the third option is abc@gmail.com. How many of you think that was their email IDs for postpaid customers? Only 2? 3? Okay. And the fourth option was What was the fourth option? sales@airtel.in. Anyone? Oh, okay. So what I see here is nobody thinks that it was the actual email ID, which was the case. In fact, the email ID which was used in 99% cases was abc@gmail.com. Now question is why? Why was it not blank? Because the customer acquisition form had mentioned it as a mandatory field and it had to be filled. So option of not giving anything was not there. Now sales@airtel.in was obviously used by the sales team, so nobody would want to have that email ID also. So the most convenient thing, or as a tradition, what happened was everybody was using abc@gmail.com. So how is it pertinent to our discussion about data governance? It shows that even in big organizations where if you are not having proper checklist at your entry data points, you are going to follow or you are going to have junk data. And that creates lot of hurdles in executing your business. Right? So now let me then come to the today's topic, like what is governance? Governance is not bureaucracy. It's not kind of adding extra people to stop others from executing their job. It is accountability. Corporate governance, data governance is a very important part of corporate governance today. Here you are accountable for the validity of the data, the usability of the data, the availability of the data. So governance isn't bureaucracy, it is standardization. Standardization in the form that it can be used across departments. Although this is predominantly a marketing conclave or a marketing event, but here, marketing cannot exist on its own. It has to operate for the entire organization. And marketing cannot work for all the, marketing cannot own all the data for different departments. The departments have to identify data stewards for the data that they own. Like if I am talking about data for material costs, so the supply chain department should be owning that data, and the the marketing department, based on the data, then the fluctuation in the raw material cost, they can visualize what is going to, how to optimize their product, what is going to increase their, product shares. So this kind of two-way communication can only happen if there is data governance. Like if supply chain provides the true validated data, and when I talk about true validated data, I will come to it in a couple of slides later, that data once captured does not remain data for the eternity or next 5 years. Data is continuously evolving, and especially certain data move faster than other type of data like market commodity prices, etc. So you have to define custodians across your organization for different silos of data. And it's not purely the responsibility of the marketing team to own the whole data, but the like customer experience team would be holding the customer experience data, not necessarily the lead or the kind of sales forecast data. So every department has to own the data, and they should be having a proper framework and governance systems by which this data should flow across the departments. So the second question is, who owns the data? How is it defined? Is it compliant? So compliance is another reason why we need to have strong data governance rules in our modern organizations. What data goes out, what data can be shared with externals, what data or what customer data we cannot share. All these things are no longer responsibility of the either the marketing team or the customer experience team. They are responsibilities of each and every employee working for that organization. That is why data governance is of paramount importance. And why it is getting more important is because of use of or increasing use of AI in today's world. We'll come to that. Okay. So what we have seen that we invest in different software, different customer data platforms on generative AI, but as long as our data, which actually fuels all these platforms, it is not validated, it is not clean, your systems are not going to work. Or it's like if you have a twin cam V8 engine and you are not pulling in pure fuel in it, it would not work. It would sputter, and after a while it will stop. Similarly, if we are, similarly but differently. In case of in our IT systems or in marketing, it is not going to kind of sputter or stop. It is going to fail silently. And failing silently is a very big problem to detect and correct. So the best thing is to start from right set of data and continuously clean up the data through your proper governance system rather than waiting for the system to fail. So next, once we have talked about general data, let us talk about artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence mostly works on historical data. It's a lag data. So if you are not having clear data, all your market predictions, all your customer segmentation, if the data is not up to date, it's going to fail. So this is another reason you should have proper kind of stakeholders defined who owns the data, and also frequency at which the data has to be refreshed. And as we all know that if you put garbage in a very sophisticated system using some analytic tools, the output that you get is a set of reports or dashboards or charts, which is again garbage, which is not going to give you any value. And analytics tools, they rarely question the authenticity of the data. Have you ever seen any ChatGPT really asking you that, that the spreadsheet that you have given, is it correct data, or is it belonging to the right region data that you want to be analyzed? It would never ask you the data. It will always trust whatever data you are giving. So the quality of the data you are giving to your intelligent generative AI is going to give you you are going to get the equal quality in the output. And this is the 360 degree that we always talk about, especially in CRM platform, that we not only view from a customer from one angle, but we view the customer from different angles, be it social media, be it their previous purchase history. So all these 360 degree views has to be consistent. So you need to have need to track all these data that is coming from different sources, and there has to be some kind of consistency and checks to see that the data is consistent. And one customer, if I am treated as 3 different customers by the same company, by different departments or whatever, then that customer is never going to be happy. They always expect that if I have spoken to one department, that knowledge should be transferred to the other department, and I do not need to kind of give the whole history again to get the service that I'm looking for. So consistency is the bridge between the channels. Now, I did a quick review, like we are talking about generative AI, we are talking about data science, but I did a small research on LinkedIn that how many companies have a chief information officer compared to a chief data officer. So a few months back, or rather few years back, the chief data officer post had become quite in demand, but all of a sudden we see it's no longer that much in demand. So, but I see that about 27 to 80% of our very less companies are having a chief data officer. By this, I do not mean that I'm not telling you that every company should start having a chief data officer, but what I am trying to say is that every company should have a data governance office. And this responsibility should be distributed across different departments. Every department should be having ownership and defined steward for the data and owner who is responsible for the sourcing the data, the validity of the data, and refreshing the data. So, to summarize, this is my last slide, and to summarize, data governance is not IT or marketing's prerogative. It is a prerogative, or it is a responsibility for each and every department, whoever is the producer of the data, and other departments may be consumers. So we have to have data stewards identified who are responsible for the data. Unlike SIR, which is again a buzzword these days, which happens once in 20 years, and we have seen what kind of surprises the SIR has thrown. Like in the newspaper, we read that in SIR, a 15-year-old boy was found to be the father of about 20 other voters. So, what does that say? Like, the data was obviously not correct, and we are coming by ways of verifying and creating a better quality data. So similarly, this SIR, which happens every 20 years, we cannot have that luxury of 20 years in a corporate organization. It has to be done every 6 months, or maybe annually in the worst case. So data governance must encompass data security and compliance. Like I spoke about regulatory compliance, like securing personally identifiable data. So it's not a responsibility of an individual, but it is the responsibility of each employee of that company to be compliant with the regulatory requirements, and as a whatever data that person is owning. Also, while we implement these data governance models, we should be considering the principle of least privilege. Like, we should not give more data to the other departments than they need to. Like, if I give the phone, telephone number, if for example I am a company working with white goods like refrigerators. So if I give the telephone number of my customers to the customer service agent, that person might be having a side deal with that thing and say that, okay, we would fix your refrigerator for 1/3 the cost if you do not take a bill. So you have to decide, or you have to find the frameworks by which you can give just the data by which you can, the person is able to do the job, but not more, not less. And finally, the last thing which I would request everybody to take back from this conclave is, we are using open LLM models very frequently these days, like without giving a second thought. The risk of that is that every now and then we are having a new LLM model coming up, like whether it's version upgrade or totally revamping. So how does this version upgrades happen? It's all happening because you are putting your data, and often some of these data are your corporate data, back to these open language models. And if you are doing that, you are inadvertently exposing your company's secrets to your competitors, in fact, the whole world. So this is a caveat that if you are using generative AI for corporate purpose, either have a generative AI model in-house by which you create the guardrails so that the data do not flow out, or you do not use like drafting an email or most of the time we use these open LLM models for drafting emails and giving details about our customers and suppliers. So this is a caveat you must always keep in mind. Never do this. While generative AI is a productivity enhancer, but again, you must be aware of its security implications. I think that's the last slide. Yes, so this slide was prepared in a rush because Tata, still my customer, invited me in the last moment, and I would have loved to make it a better presentation, but thanks to you, I could finish it in time. Okay, so that's it.
First and foremost, a big thank you to you, Mr. Adi, because you accepted the invitation at the very last moment. We had a bit of a problem, and then Mr. Adi stepped in, and thank you so much. We have a small token of appreciation for you. For that, I would like to invite Mr. Siddhartha Roy, Mentor, Marketing and Branding Committee of the Bengal Chamber and CEO Response, India. Siddhartha sir, if you can kindly hand over our small token of appreciation. The last speaker has the most difficult task to perform, so kindly put your hands together for Mr. Adi. Thank you, sirs. And before we deliver the formal vote of thanks, which will be done by Praveen sir. Praveen sir, if you can just kindly hand over the last gifts, the 5 gifts that were pending. So I'm just calling out the names for the Amul quiz winners, the next 5. Deepak, Rishu, Shushmita, Oyun, and Gaurav. Can you please come up on stage for the chocolates? And after this, Mr. Praveen Srivastav, Chief Marketing and Sales, Branded Products and Retail, Tata Steel Limited, and Co-Chair of the Marketing and Brand Committee of the Chamber will deliver the formal vote of thanks. Yes, we have chocolates.
Hi, good evening. I'll keep it short. So, first of all, on behalf of the Brand and Marketing Committee of BCCI, thank you all for being in attendance today. This was the 15th edition of the event, and I think the kind of response and the kind of sponsors we get every year, I think People are taking it, it's keeping us relevant to keep such topics. So thank you. So as Anup sir said in the morning, I think he was a rookie on the subject in the morning, and I think all of us, most of us were there. I was also one of them. But thanks to the sessions today and the well-curated session, I must say, we are all more wiser on the subject of AI than we were in the morning. So my first vote of thanks goes to all the speakers and the panel members. I think they took time out to come and be here with us and share their experience, their perspective, but most importantly, their projection of what AI can do to all of us. As marketeers, as budding marketeers, some of the students are here. Some of our beliefs got reinforced that AI is here to stay, and the data is the DNA for all the AI tools that we are going to use in future. But some of the learnings were new, and I'm sure all of us have taken our notes. Some of them for me was like data and context. Context goes together. Data alone does not make any sense. Automation will be replaced by agentic AIs. Forecast will be replaced by trained cast, etc. So thanks to all of them. Warm thanks to all the sponsors once again. EI, LLM, Tata Steel, CenturyPly, INT, JS Group, Berger Paints, Hint, Quaker Houghton, Digital Sherpa, Mahindra. I'm sure some of you have tried their car here. The Telegraph, Laopala, the gift partner, Selwell, and Decalog, and obviously ITC Sonar for their hospitality. My last vote of thanks goes to all my committee members who have taken time out to not only design the whole session today, but also got in touch with all the speakers, persuaded them to come here. And the team of Swarnali, Andrila, Vikram, Rajshri, I think they had night out yesterday just to put up the whole show here. So thanks a lot, all of you, for putting it here. Thanks a lot, everyone. We'll meet again next year. Have a good weekend and a good December. Thank you.